Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about the sampling requirements. So when we talk about the sampling, there's two things that have to be done with the sampling. The first one is a daily visual check. Okay, that's the one we talked about. It has to be done daily. We cannot do this for our clients, and they don't want us to either. We would have to charge them a lot of money to send somebody out to their site every single day to do a daily visual check. Now, the only thing that has to be done daily is an oil and grease check. They just have to look at the water that's being discharged, preferably, you know, after it's come out of the pipe and it's, you know, flowing on the ground. They look at that and they look for signs of oil and grease. Do all of you guys know what it looks like when there's oil and grease in water? Looks like a rainbow. Very pretty. So they're looking for oil and grease. They're looking for that rainbow sheen, right? That colorful sheen. If they see any type of oil or grease residue, anything like that, they have to immediately stop dewatering. Okay, you got to figure out where that oil and grease is coming from, or they have to provide a filter for filtering out that oil and grease before they can continue discharging that water. Okay, so that's the only thing they have to check for daily, and that's why it just doesn't make sense for us to try and send somebody out there daily. Not only is it inconvenient to try and go out to their site every day, but it's really easy for somebody on site to just check and see if there is oil and grease sheen. Okay. All right. Next up is the weekly sampling. Weekly sampling that is required for the dewatering. There are three things. The first one, again, is oil and grease. Now, when you take the oil and grease samples, you're going to have to take it in a separate bottle from the other two samples. This is going to be a glass bottle that you take the sample in, and it's going to have a little, I don't even know what it is. It's some sort of acid that's in the bottom of the bottle. Maybe one of the inspectors knows what the acid is that's in the bottom of the bottle, hydrochloric acid or something like that. But they put this in the bottom of a little glass bottle. You collect the sample in that glass bottle, and then you take that to the lab, right? Now, when those samples come back, there has to be less than 10 milligrams per liter of oil and grease. That's the maximum amount allowable. And so if that amount that comes back from the labs is higher than that, then we have to put controls into place to bring that down. And we'll talk about what some of those controls are. Next is pH. One of the other samples, so this is in the other bottle. You'll have a plastic bottle and you'll have a glass bottle. You take samples in both. In the plastic bottle, you test for pH. Now, the lab is going to be very insistent that you keep this cool for an accurate measurement. And obviously, we want to do what the lab says because that's going to help us get the most accurate result. But the idea here is just keep it cool so that you can go in, so that they're not going to give you a hard time. The lab will, if you don't tell them that you've kept it cool or kept it on ice, then they might not take the sample. Right? We've had some instances where we've gone in and they're like, nope, can't take it. Then we got to go back out and take a new sample. So if you're going to be doing dewatering, let me know. Let's make sure that you have like a cooler or even a styrofoam cooler or something in your vehicle so that you can keep this pH sample cool. The minimum pH that is allowed is 6.5, maximum is 9. If we're outside of those limits, then we have to do something to make sure that we are treating that water, make sure that the pH is within the right level. Honestly, I don't think that we have ever had a problem with the pH being out. Maybe Jennifer Lamb can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever had a problem with the pH. I also don't think we've had a problem with the oil and grease ever. But the one where we do have the problem is the suspended solids. Okay, suspended solids are sediments, right? That's dirt. Now, when you're pumping out of a hole in the ground, when you're pumping water out of a hole in the ground, these pumps are not designed to filter that water before it comes out, right? And so it's going to pick up a bunch of the dirt and whatever's in that water as well. So this is where you have to have some sort of a treatment that comes into play. I talk to people all the time that they're like, this water is so crystal clear. It's coming out of here. You guys saw the last slide here. You can see the water coming out of here. It looks pretty crystal clear, right? Well, you end up putting it in a bottle and it's a lot more cloudy than it looks as it's coming out of this pipe right here. Okay. Typically, it's not going to be possible for us to reach these suspended solid levels without treating that. Now, we have two Oh, the only problem we've had with pH is not getting the testing done. Yes, absolutely. So we have to get all 3 of the tests every week. So again, sometimes they've rejected it. They've said we can't test the pH because you haven't kept it cool. So let's make sure that we're keeping it cool so that we don't miss out on those tests, right? Everybody keep it cool. Keep it cool. I think I'm funny. It's okay. Okay. So the suspended solids, the biggest one, right? There's going to have to be some sort of treatment, or it's very unlikely that we're going to meet those suspended solid levels. Now, if you are going to do dewatering, please, please, please. I spent a lot of money, about $1,000 each, on 2 testing kits, on 2 testing units. Okay. I think one of them a client might still have, and hopefully we can get that back from them because they're not cheap. But we have 2 testing units, and we need to take those out there and test every time we take a sample. We typically don't have more than 2 samplings going on at a time. If we need to, we can buy 2 more sampling kits so that basically each of the inspectors can have one as they're going out to do the dewatering sampling. But the dewatering, if as long as we take those testing kits, you take them out there, you collect the water in the regular bottle that you're going to collect it in, and then you pour it into one of the test tubes from the sampling kit, and then you put that in there and you test what the number is, right? And then you take that number, whatever number pops up, and you divide it by 3, because that's testing for NTUs, and what Utah looks for is milligrams per liter, not NTUs. And Ava's bothering me with Accena tasks while I'm trying to teach. Thanks, Ava. Appreciate that. So we're looking for the milligrams per liter, and so it's going to give us NTUs. We're going to divide it by 3 to get an estimate of the milligrams per liter. If we are outside of the daily maximum, then we definitely should not send in that sample. Okay, we should work with the company that's doing the dewatering to make sure that we can lower that down before we take in the sample. Okay, absolutely. If it's over 70, we gotta get a new sample. Okay, and that would be about 210 on that little thing that comes in. It'd be about 210. So we want to get below 70. Ideally, we want to be below 25 because the monthly average max is 25. So we're going to want to be in that area, around the 25 level here. Okay. So as long as we're under 25, we're good to go. That's 75 on your NTU meters. Stay below that and we'll be good to go. Okay. If you're above that, then we need to implement new controls to make sure that we are filtering out the sediments better.